We're really excited to have you here with us on our stage, Mike and Matt. Keycode and Lucid Link have a really great partnership, and through Keycode, you've been able to bring Lucid Link to dozens of customers, enterprises, really introducing this idea of how we can now use the cloud in media and entertainment and content creation spaces. But what we don't always see from partners is that the partners believe in us so much and understand the value of Lucid Link that they become compelled to use it themselves. And I know that you did a case study recently that involved Keycode using Lucid Link for your marketing efforts. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for having us, Dave. So yeah, obviously we signed up as a Lucid Link partner, I want to say 6 months or so ago. And I'm the director of marketing. So at Keycode, we have a pretty small marketing team that does a lot of video content, a lot of events. And one of those video series we do is called Featured Work, which is just, as you can imagine, as we're building out TV studios and radio stations and broadcast facilities, we kind of do a Hugh Hauser style walkthrough of facilities where engineers walk us through, they show us all their racks, they show us how they're using it. And in this example, it was the University of Wyoming. So it was a control room. It was actually their basketball arena. We got to record a Detroit versus Wyoming basketball game. And, it's in Wyoming. I'm based in Los Angeles. And with the level of complexity of the graphics and the higher level editing that we wanted to do, I really need to look at finding a freelance talent to do that. And so I used Upwork.com, as many marketers do, to find someone out there, get a bunch of sample works, figure out what's going to work. And I hired Kira, who's a great guy out in Finland. And so we're talking about a real collaboration. We got Wyoming, me in LA, and we got Kira out there in Finland. And so decided to use Lucid Link just to be able to get all our files, all our projects, all the media, and just start collaborating, and was very impressed.
Well, so when you're hiring, have you ever in the past been able to broaden your search for talent that far? Or do you, was this a new opportunity, or do you usually look for local freelancers because of the proximity to the media?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times we had actually hired, we have a lot of partners that we like to use for video, and we like to have people that can do both the shooting aspects and the editing aspects, so they kind of have a full sense of the production we're trying to do. In this circumstance, the challenges I found with that is, one, sometimes I don't necessarily have all the budget ready for that, and I go, okay, well, I got to think a little bit more nimble in how I can do that. But also, I don't necessarily have control of that content, right? I'll have the videographer go out there and I'll be with them for the shoot. But then that goes to a hard drive and it takes a week and it gets sent out to a company that I was using in St. Louis. Well, we're waiting for the editor to get it, or next project in line. And, shortly after, I'll maybe get a review and approve link in a frame or something like that. But I can't remember all the shots we did that day. The fact that we used Lucid Link, we were able to see, I could go right into the media, jump exactly into the timeline that he's creating, and I'm able to quickly say, oh, no, use that shot. Use shot 79 instead of shot 80.
That's great. And so, so you had Finland, you had Los Angeles, you had Denver.
Sorry, the client, the DP that we had was in Wyoming, actually.
Oh, Wyoming.
He was out of Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Long-term friend. We're both active rock climbers. Tristan Gresco, and basically he does a lot of videos for Google commercials, as well as a lot of really cool ski videos. He knows all the cool professional skiers up there. So he came down. He brought a Sony A7 IV. And we shot 4K S-Log 3, and he was a really good talent for us. But what was really unique there, and maybe I'm jumping too far ahead, is we got pretty far in the edit, right? So we're all editing it, and we get to the final edit, and I send it over to Tristan, who is our DP, just to say, hey, take a look at it. And meanwhile, I'd asked the editor, like, hey, can you do a color correction? And color correction wasn't necessarily his experience. So when I sent it to Tristan, he said, oh, looks like they forgot to add the camera LUT. And Tristan he's like, let me jump into a Starbucks. So he jumped into a Starbucks, jumped into Lucid Link. He jumped in the timeline, added all the LUTs, added a color correction. 2 hours later, he's like, check out this next version. And it looked incredible.
That's really an amazing story, because we do see customers utilizing just the freedom to be wherever they want to be. But the idea that in that moment he can just jump into a Starbucks and not only see but interact with the footage in front of him is sort of next level. And so were there any big surprises that you ran into within this process? Anything that didn't work or worked better than you had imagined?
I think just like any new tool, I think the hardest part is just getting to log in. But it's so simple. It's just like, hey, here's the client page, download. Here's your login information, join. But I found that once they were in the system and they had it mounted on their computer, there was no questions. They just knew what to do, because it's just files on your computer.
Right, because it just looks like an attached drive. There's no learning curve to it. It becomes a very familiar experience. And so, Mike, I wanted to ask you, we're seeing more and more customers going into the cloud. Obviously, proximity to storage is important, and the way that people are sharing files are important. But I know that the adoption of the cloud has still been somewhat slow. Can you talk a little bit about any hesitations that you see, or how you reassure your customers?
What we find at Keycode Media, and one of the reasons on the projects I said to Matt was, we're really big believers in eating our own dog food. So not just representing the product and the technology, but using it. So the concept for our side was, well, how much is it going to cost being in the cloud? What's the egress cost we're going to run into? How long will it stay in this place within Lucid Link in what we call a SAN in a cloud? And what I like about it is just it uploads and everybody has instant visibility to a project literally anywhere on the planet, which allowed for huge enablement of productivity of us to get our work. And we've been adding additional componentry, transcoding, proxies, tiering the media maybe from Lucid Link to a lower cost storage cloud for more longer term storage. So it's not just Lucid Link, but Lucid Link is sort of the foundation to build a topology. And one of the big things we're working on, and Matt can talk on the exact specifics of the cost, but we used 0.5 terabyte of footage, was all uploaded from Laramie, Wyoming, up into the cloud to the Lucid Link instance. And then we had 4 different people working on that media simultaneously, all real time. And we had the project go for 1 month. So our 5 users, 0.5 terabyte, cost us $30 for the month to do that. And the egress charge were what, $53 total?
I'm going to correct you a little bit. Yeah, no, that's good. So we had 600 gigabytes of information, collaborating a month, 3 users. It was $55 with $5 of egress. And so if you're thinking about that, think about like a shared storage system. Think about how much that's going to cost to rent that. And the fact that that's mostly going to be on-prem. The fact that you can hire someone anywhere in the world to have that same shared storage experience. We were able to do all of that for $60 for just that month.
That almost doesn't seem real, but when you say it like that, but that's
and
really
that goes,
amazing.
David, to adoption of the cloud. This is a real life project that we did, we paid for, and we did it from an enablement level. The productivity enhancements of having a media available for everybody within their Adobe panel was phenomenal. But coupled with that, people are wondering about security. They're wondering about, well, how much will it really cost me? So this is a live project that we did that was under $100 to have an instance of Lucid Link for 1 month with unbelievable capabilities and productivity by having all the media in one place that everybody could access at any time. The client could log in from an approval process. So all of these aspects where the client, if they wanted to make an edit, change a maybe one of the people, we had their name spelled wrong in a title, they could log in on Adobe and make those changes at the same time. So Lucid Link brings a highly collaborative platform for Adobe users to leverage and have instantaneous productivity and access.
That's great. And I really love the idea that, the KeyCode family got to really experience working with Lucid Link in a real world scenario. And, that helps to inform as you talk to other customers as well, I would imagine. So as far as sort of trends of people moving to the cloud and how they work, obviously we just went through 2.5 years or so of an unanticipated remote production scenario. And we're going to be starting to look at, not everyone's going right back to the office. We're most likely going to end up with something sort of hybrid. Can you talk a little bit about how you see Lucid Link fitting into future-facing hybrid workflows?
Absolutely, because the infrastructure at a post facility or post-production, it does make a lot of sense to have that as sort of a mother brain base of all the media, so they can do archiving, have on-prem work. And one of the workflows we found to be really exciting is having Adobe Premiere for the remote editors working off Lucid Link, where it's effectively seen like a drive that's next to their computer in their bedroom while they're editing. And at the same time, the post facility can have that. And we have some technology with one of our other partners, Storage DNA, that licenses a SaaS model for synchronization of the changes of the media, of the metadata to the on-prem SAN that they have, so that they're having sort of a collaborative, real-time synchronized workflow, leveraging Lucid Link and their additional tools, be it Quantum, be it Avid, be it SNS, any of the SANs that people are using. It really gives, or even just standalone storage that you're working on, that you're having sort of a master level protection of a backup, and the ability to do, if you need higher res performance where maybe your remote people don't have the bandwidth to do a 4K color grading session within Lucid Link, that same media is on-prem. So there's all these different really super creative workflows that you can just sort of say, how about I do this? Can you do that? I'd be able to really enable and finish my production by 3 more days if I was able to do the following. And guess what? Lucid Link just works. It's a SAN in the sky, and there are additional tools that allow you to basically layer that around a workflow that can give you incredible enablement for whatever you want to accomplish.
Wow. Sounds great.
You should try it.
Yeah, seriously. So Matt, you actually got to use it on this project. Were there any parts of that experience that really stand out, as far as, when we talk about Lucid Link, there's sometimes that sort of light switch moment that happens where suddenly everything makes sense. The way that we operate is different. We have a completely new protocol for how we do the file sharing. And so we're not thinking about it in terms of the old days of cloud and how we would use it. So it's sometimes a little difficult to get over that hump and say, okay, I truly understand what's pushing, what's pulling, where things are living. Was there any part of that experience where something clicked for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it really comes down to when you have someone send you media in the Lucid Link, and it's a 4K raw file, and you just click it, it's still syncing, and it's opening, and it's playing in your QuickTime, and you're like, oh wow, this is real time. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, it's like I almost said blockchain, but it's like it's a NVMe type cloud experience, and that is something that a lot of our storage providers have been pitching for a long time on premise. To see it in the cloud, it's incredible, and you finally see the click of how fast this is and how quickly people are going to be able to just jump in and collaborate. So,
yeah, and Mike, I know you've mentioned security a couple times too. One of the things that we love about Lucid Link is that you can enable and disable permissions with the click of a button. So just as Matt was saying, that you see that file appear, you can give permission to a folder or file and you see it appear instantly. if that needs to be revoked, it disappears from your screen. So it is that fast. So Mike, on the security side, how have you been explaining to customers that their IP and data are secure?
Well, the basic aspect is, the authentication process works very well for LucidLink, but a lot of the aspects of the client using the cloud is they're using AWS, they're using Google, they're using Azure. And so all of these companies have large scale security enablement that already exists, that all you're doing with LucidLink is piggybacking onto their platform and their infrastructure to allow to have all the tools of security and protection that you would have on a SAN for yourself. So we found, once we walk the clients through that, and especially the ones that are highly secure, it's like, great, let's just use your instance and let's just carve out a little bit of LucidLink here, and we won't have access to that other than knowing this is what you have and sending you the bill appropriately, and then working with you whenever you need us access to it. You turn it on, you turn it off. So it's a highly securitized process, coupled with being with the biggies in the cloud world. You're pretty much guaranteed, against ransomware and a process. And we have some additional aspects of how to take that, migrate it to blob storage, or migrate it to a Wasabi or Backblaze or Seagate Live, that you can have that backup in the cloud at the same time or on-prem. But the security within LucidLink is very solid, coupled with being layered on top of a major cloud provider. So we haven't had any real issues with clients being concerned at a studio level, shooting large, high-budget movies, leveraging this technology.
And if I could just add, the snapshot feature alone is a very important one. So essentially, what it's doing is it's constantly taking, you tell it how many times you want it to take a snapshot, and it goes ahead and it takes a snapshot of all your files, all your folders. So if you do have that situation where something goes catastrophic, you just go back a couple minutes to your last save, and now everything's popping back up.
Yeah, the snapshots are pretty much as close to time travel as we can go. It's the answer to the uh-oh that we often hear from edit rooms of where's that file. So yeah,
or even from that level, versioning, or they want to roll back and get a version, and
Absolutely.
They look at a snapshot in a period of time where the producer may have said, that cut you did 45 minutes ago, I really like better. And just being able to see that 45 minute ago snapshot and say, great, here it is right now.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point, that snapshots are not just a backup mechanism. It can really become a part of the workflow. And to your point, Mike, as you were talking about all the applications for it, that's what we're seeing with LucidLink every day. Is there's always someone saying, oh, I can use it for this, or if I combine it with this other tool, I can use it that way. Are there any integrations that you've had for specific workflows that stand out?
Probably the most interesting one is one of our clients had a on-prem SAN. They're really struggling with their own security permissions, and they're fighting with being able to get their production done on their local SAN that they had purchased pre-pandemic. And everyone's now remote, and there's permissions of getting into their VPN itself. And we had HPZ central remote systems all built to do that. But they just became frustrated logging into a system and having less of an experience. And our engineer supporting him was mentioning about LucidLink. Then he got sick for a week and was gone. And they just uploaded, an instance for 7 editors within LucidLink, and we're just instantly working. And this is a very large cloud company. I can't say their name, but they effectively just started getting production done, and all the issues of connecting to the local SAN went away immediately for all their editors, and they were just productive like that.
I know on our side, not all of it is available today, but I know our customers looking on how can I get my LucidLink connected into my Frame.io workflow or my media asset management workflow. And I think as we start to build out these more enterprise level LucidLink accounts, there's going to be a lot of service, a lot of support, and that's where we'll be coming in to help them.
Yeah, right now in our AWS instance, we have Roots Content Agent transcoding upon upload within our AWS instance. And at the same time, we then also have CatDB, where we ingest the elements which can be a panel within the Lucid Link Adobe users. So they're having different types of architecture, much like if you had on-prem. And now it's a matter of just building up what you want to have on the cloud. And the benefit of that workflow is it's much more on-demand consumption. If you're using 10 editors and you're using 5 terabytes with Lucid Link, and all of a sudden the project's winding down very quickly, you're not paying for that system. You can very much, we only now need 1 terabyte. We're finishing the job. We've tiered everything else off back to our on-prem or lower cost cloud. And they're getting real-time reduction in the production resources while maintaining the productivity that Lucid Link brings to the table.
And Matt, not to put you on the spot here, but are you a professional editor?
Sometimes. I always kind of feel like a fake sometimes when it comes to the editing, but I edit all of our pre-recorded segments for our live streams,
right,
which are about half pre-recorded, half live. And it's usually like till 1 a.m. the next, the night before the webinar, adding, lower thirds, adding our motion graphics. But most of that is, as a marketer, I need things to be simple. So it's Mogert files. It's like simple things I could just edit, and I don't have to get into the crazy levels of After Effects that a higher end editor needs to do.
Do you do motion graphics professionally?
Yeah, no, I don't.
Do you do color, audio mixing, or any of these things? Things that you do every day.
I use Lightroom quite a bit for photography on the side, but as far as I will add like basic color correction, most of the work I'm doing is in Premiere Pro, and then just going to After Effects to modify our intro, outro, and motion graphic segments.
So my point was more than just to call this out, but if you are a professional editor doing craft edits on features or series every day, you have your workflows, you have your technology stack, you know it inside out. Same thing for audio, graphics, VFX, everyone who's involved in the process. But for people who have to know a little bit about a lot, like you may not have certainly the muscle memory of each part of this process. And so we really try to keep things simple for the end user. So can you just talk for a minute? I know you mentioned it before, but just to go over how easy or difficult it was to spin up a file space, get started from your perspective, and any hesitation to do another project. If another project comes along, how quickly do you think you can get that going, and with what level of confidence?
Yeah, well, actually, I'll be perfectly honest. I just kind of ran with it because we had Richie joining us to do a virtual demo. Richie is an employee of Lucid Link to do a demo. So I just created a login. Maybe this is like an hour before we met with Richie. Created a login, added the AWS space, and it was ready. And we just sent the information to Richie. He joined in. And it was from that moment that I had access to this thing. I was like, oh, I'm just going to use this for marketing. One thing that was interesting, though, is that later on we realized we need to migrate this over because KeyCode has its own AWS account. And so what do you need to do in that situation where, okay, you maybe have some editor who just runs with their Lucid Link instance? How easy is it to transition over to that professional AWS instance? And it was fairly simple. I did have to create a new account basically, but the setup process of connecting it to our KeyCode AWS instance for future projects just took less than an hour.
Gotcha. So, the point is that no matter what role you're playing, you can be the one responsible for starting the file space, but certainly getting everyone on board, there's really no learning curve whatsoever. I mean, it just feels like you're working with files on your computer.
Yeah, and the concept really to think about it is if you're in a canoe and you're one person that's paddling along and all of a sudden it's like, I need more people, and just like snap, they're now in the canoe with you paddling and you're going faster and you're getting your job done faster because Matt doesn't have motion graphics. Great. Let's hire somebody. Let's get them into our instance immediately, get those motion graphics done, approve it, move on. Audio Sweden. Matt's not an audio guy. Let's have someone log in, sweeten it out really quickly. So we're almost literally able to have on-demand services for on-demand needs that we have on a project and not be constrained and binded by where the talent is. and that's been very, very powerful for us.
Well, great. This has been really great to hear, not only about the case study, which we love to hear that you were using us for that and that it went so well, but also to hear a little bit more about the strategy and what you're offering to clients with Lucid Link. So thank you both so much for joining me today. We really appreciate the partnership. Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much.